If American companies do invest in oil in Venezuela, that could spell trouble for one of the Maduro regime's top buyers. The New York Times summing it up like this: China needed oil, Venezuela needed cash. Their deal faces a turning point. Let's bring in Brent Sadler, retired Navy captain, former Pentagon official, and Heritage Foundation senior fellow. Welcome to you, Brent. You've looked into this. What kind of impact could this have ultimately on China?
Yes, thanks for having me on. I mean, the issue for China is, tens of billions of dollars invested into the oil industry and into Venezuela's economy to secure an increasingly large amount of its imports, from which it still relies on for meeting its energy needs in Beijing. So losing their place in Venezuela, their assured access, clearly comes with greater risk and, for looking forward, probably greater cost to Beijing. Certainly, there's a possibility that China remains a customer, and the price that it pays for Venezuelan oil into the future, as Venezuela reinvests and grows its production capacity, it's down less than 30% of what it was producing in 1998. That's more oil that China can buy, more money that goes into Venezuela, hopefully to improve the governance and to better the livelihood of the Venezuelan people there. And I think that's what President Trump has in mind.
Very interesting. And this coming as we are just getting word through it appears an interview that Chris Wright, the energy secretary, did with Bloomberg Law, that he's going to be sitting down with U.S. oil industry executives this week to discuss their future investment in Venezuela. The U.S. oil companies have said that investing in Venezuela would require certain conditions to be met. But certainly there's a huge opportunity here, and a huge opportunity for the people of Venezuela to benefit from the natural resources on which they sit.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing for American oil industries, Chevron has been there, stays there. There's a couple of questions. One is in front of everyone's mind. It's considering moving back into Venezuela from the U.S. petroleum industry, and that is political risk. And as President Trump is making very clear, and with that sustained military, that naval presence, that's the assurance against political instability and also political vulnerabilities that an ongoing Maduro regime, their hanger-on there, may pose a risk to the further American investments there. The second is about $10 billion of outstanding back dues that Venezuela owes for property that they expropriated when Hugo Chavez nationalized U.S. investments in that country. In the overall scheme of things, that $10 billion will probably be made up in fairly short order once the doors are open, political stability is assured, and the oil is flowing back into the global marketplace.
I want to finish up with Brett Villacovich, who was on Fox and Friends earlier today. And he says that he sees this as the message that the Trump administration is sending to the world and specifically our adversaries with an operation like this. Listen.
I think adversaries hopefully are paying attention to what's happening here. Even China had senior security officials meeting with Maduro that same day. They're seeing this capability. They're seeing the reach of our national security apparatus, our special ops units, and they're seeing the confidence. And hopefully that reinforces this global deterrence beyond escalation. And holding Maduro accountable right now it's about justice.
So one might assume they are taking notice. I'll give you a final thought there.
Yeah, Beijing certainly has been taking notice of what's transpired in Venezuela in the last few days, but they're also taking notice of what's happened in Ukraine and how things come to a conclusion there. What really matters is what kind of unity the West is on the other side of this, how much economic resiliency our economy, the United States, has to any types of shocks or supply chain kind of volatility the Chinese Communist Party might try to instigate in a crisis. And it's important to point out that Beijing has been working assiduously towards a date of being ready to wage and win a war over the fate of Taiwan by 2027. So they still see this in Beijing as a window of opportunity. And things like Venezuela going very unexpectedly to their calculations makes their risk calculation go up, makes the potential for deterrence go up as well for us.
Got it. Brent Sadler, always appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.